right, what is going on, guys? Well, it is Wednesday. We are halfway through the week. Normally we be recording on a Saturday or further down for a episode to be aired on Sunday. But this time we have something a little bit special. We're going to have somebody that's actually, God, that sounded bad. I don't mean that. We've had some really awesome guests. That's not even like that. Bad choice of words. Okay. Two-time AMA champion. Put Kawasaki on the map. An Enduro series. Very, very famously known. Competitor against Danny Hamill, Larry Rossler, and those greats. Turn down the music a little bit. A big old party going on here. I'm going to see how long I can stretch this intro for. Keep you guys guessing. I kind of hinted at it on the episode from this past week, talking about a hint that I dropped in there. Some may have caught on to it. I don't know that everybody did or didn't, but I'm working on sending him the link so we can get him on here in just a moment. But, like I said, put Kawasaki on the map, Baja and beyond. Get that over to him. There is that link. I just gotta wait for him to join up. Let's navigate over to the website here. I'm gonna turn down the music. So, I've been kind of curious about this kind of event, so we're gonna deviate a little bit, right? So normally we've been talking about rally raids and getting people into rally raid and getting into that, and this time around we're gonna go with a different type of discipline of riding, which is actually pretty cool to me. I have buddies that do this type of riding. It is more, what do we call that, like an enduro cross type setting. And I find it interesting because it's one of those things that, like, it requires a lot of work. You have to learn how to ride the bike in different situations. So it's rocks, it's sand, it's pipes, it's all sorts of big things and big, obstacles and stuff like that. And so learning how to navigate that and actually make it happen is crazy to me. It's like a cross between trials and motocross, I think. And so I'm looking forward to learning a lot, because I think that this is one of those definite disciplines of riding that you can do, that you can work at, and it's a great skill set to learn and have and be able to use. I mean, even if you do ride adventure bikes, even if you ride other smaller stuff, or just to the motocross bike type thing, it's still worthy of having these kind of skill sets, being able to wheelie bikes, jump bikes, do all of these different things and cross different obstacles. Obviously the bike is going to be a little bit heavier, but it is one of those things that we want to do. So looks like we have him on the line now. So here we go. Ty Davis, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, what's going on, sir? How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad.
Nice. So I was just kind of doing a little intro and kind of figuring this out, but so you've done I mean, it's like, where do you begin? Like, you're literally talking to Ty Davis right now. Like, you put Kawasaki on the map, famous racer. It's like all of this, like the resume is pages long. So
right.
Well, I'm going to start with the event. There's an event or something like that you're working on, correct?
Yes, I'm working on the Adelanto Grand Prix.
Okay.
And that kind of landed in my lap. So I've won a lot of races there. Being that I'm a local, I have a lot of fanfare that goes and shows up at that race. And it's always been a fun race for the family to come out and enjoy and have a good time. You draw a lot of, not like professional racers. You grab a lot of, guys, just weekend warriors that want to come out and have a good time. Usually they come out and they just brag about that. Yeah, I went to one race and it was Adelanto. It's like the only race they do, every year or something. So it's pretty cool. It's, it's grown, and they had it was on the on the west side of the highway of 395 for a while. Then they kind of the Vipers quit doing it, and then Daryl Courtney brought it back at the stadium on the east side of 395. So they've been doing it for about 6 or 7 years there.
Nice. And so, what are you going to be? I mean, are you racing it, promoting it? I mean, how are you related with the event?
I'm pretty much promoting it. It's like I said, I'm doing everything. I've come up with some classes. I've tried to make classes where everyone can ride. It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event. Friday and Saturday being dirt bikes, and then on Sunday we have quads and side by sides coming out. Sidecars and ATCs are welcomed. I see that the ATCs are kind of coming back, so we just added that class and love to have them out there. Oh. I've done some things a little bit different from like a normal Grand Prix. I've added a pro class is kind of a 3-race deal where it's 150% payback, and I call it each race is like a moto, and then that way the guy that wants to come out and he gets one good race, but he has 2 bad ones. At least he walks away with some money. I remember Go Brecker doing that way back when we did Paris GFI stuff, and it was always good because if you had one good moto, you walked away with some money, and that's the whole idea behind it. Mm-hmm. They will be doing 2 races on Friday, one in the morning around 11 o'clock. It'll be a regular Grand Prix course. And then the second race will be basically it's just an enduro cross and the motocross section. So they'll probably be doing around, I'd have to say 20 laps, 18 and 20 laps. So both races, spectators can come out and watch 2 pro races on Friday. And we are doing a team race after that. And that's to help Charlotte Abbott and Blaine Thompson with their cancers. And so half of those proceeds will go to help them. And that's just a fun race at the end of the day where guys, if they can't make it, working Friday morning, at least in the afternoon, they can ride the team race, get to know the track, that type of thing. So that's what's going on Friday. And then Friday night, we also have the Stasics and we have the Pee-wees, and they're going to be racing inside the stadium. And we did a little course on the grass, and we have an enduro cross type arena cross style section inside the stadium, and they will kind of take some of those obstacles as well. So we have that going on. And then on Saturday, pretty much the kind of the major classes. And then we have the third pro race will be an hour and a half at the end of the day. So and so then, my thing is when I used to race Adelanto, it was, obviously we didn't have 4-strokes like we do now, but you had to race every race. And if you won every race, 125, 250, open, pro, 4-stroke, then you were the king of Adelanto. And it was hard to win all those. That's why it was only like Rosler, myself, in the pro race, you'd have Johnny Campbell and guys like that. But, our goal was to win everything. Larry was the guy that kind of started it all. So then, I was kind of in his footsteps. So I got to do it too, so that was kind of like, that's how you became the king of Adelanto and not just winning one race.
Yeah.
So my idea was like, okay, for someone to be the king of Adelanto, I want 3 races. And things are so different now. So we kind of did it where there's 3 pro races. Whoever does the best in all 3 will be the new king of Adelanto. So a little bit more of a challenge, more spectator, friendly. And so, yeah, that's kind of what we've done with that. We've also added the futures class, which is basically kids. And, the kids, back in my day, we had Eddie Hicks, Mike Healy, we had these kids coming up and we had all the factory looking bikes. DMC had all the cool trick stuff, and I kind of want to bring that back to where the kids will get to race 2 races on Friday and basically we'll do the top 15, top 20 for Saturday's pro race. They'll be at the back of the pro race. So they'll get the race with the pros, they'll get some to be in the limelight. We got some cool trophies for them. We got Risk Racing's donated a starting gate. We got GPR donating a top clamp and stabilizer system. So we're getting some cool trophies for them. So that's kind of cool too. That's something, that no one's ever done too. So kind of give them some, some more ink. So we're working, doing that. And then Sunday we have the side-by-sides, and we have Supreme Suspensions come along, and they've donated $20,000 for a purse. So we're going to have, which is, I think one of probably the biggest purses on the West Coast for side-by-side racing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're paying $10,000 for 1,000 naturally aspirated, and $10,000 for the turbo 1,000. And so we pay all the way back to 10th place, $300 for 10th place. So we're kind of bringing it back, and guys that get 6th, 7th place, they get to walk away with some good money. So we're looking forward to that.
Nice. Yeah, that's like I said. Now we're including everything, right? You got a little, both from the kids, the stakes racing, all of that mini bike stuff, and then all the way up to the side by sides. Which it's crazy how many of those are out there now.
Yeah, there's a lot of them, and when you go to the races with some of the side by side races, it depends. Like sometimes you see a lot of racers, and sometimes you don't see so many. It's kind of weird, but. So, we are hoping that, we got a good turnout. We're encouraging people that haven't raced before, you can come out and try it. We are doing a fun race after the last Turbo Pro. We're doing a fun team race in the side-by-sides. And basically, it's like a father, son, mother, husband, whatever. Just something for the people that are sitting in the stands that have a side-by-side at home that they go play around, but something for them to like get on the course and check it out and, get that feeling, that intense feeling of, that adrenaline rush that you get. And it's just a fun race. It's just, go out there and it'll be an hour and 15 minutes. And then what we're going to do is half of those proceeds, we're basically going to give everyone get a raffle ticket, and we'll raffle off the money. So the slowest team could get a good chunk of money. It's just for fun, and it's something to do, and we give back a little bit, and they might get lucky and walk away with $300-$400.
Nice. Yeah, that'd be awesome. I think that it's like one of those things where just anybody can do it. So is there anything like for, say, that particular class, if I was going to set up a UTV for that, is there anything that we're really requiring? Like, is it like window nets, 5-point harness? Like what's the...
Yeah, we want that safety. So we got to have a 5-point harness, window nets, locked doors, a fire extinguisher. And I think that's about it, just your basic, thing. And like I said, that's not too expensive to get, and, just come out and have a good time. And it's all about it is just having fun and, telling stories after the race, and I think it'd be really cool.
Yes, the bench racing.
Yeah.
Oh man. And that sounds pretty, I think that's really reasonable as far as setting up a UTV, because I think those are all the doors, the window nets, the fire extinguisher. Those are all things that you would want in one of these things anyway, just rolling around the desert anyhow. So, shouldn't be a surprise there. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. So now we've got the bike classes, and I'm on the website right now for Adelanto Grand Prix, AdelantoGP.com for those playing the home game. I'm looking at the course. You've got an enduro section, the water jumps, and motocross stuff. So the pro race, does it all of this, or is it certain sections of that?
Okay, the pro race on the side by sides, the whole course, they will be going in the stadium, but we won't be having. Obviously, we got Saturday night. We got to cut out a lot of the jumps because they can't. We only get like the baseline, first, second, third. That's all we get to use inside the stadium. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of tight. For bikes, it's not a problem, but side by sides, we're going to have to come up with something simple, and then we jump out. Mm-hmm. But the dirt bikes will be taking the enduro cross section, and then there's a south side motocross and a north side motocross, and basically that's what they're going to be doing is those sections.
Okay, nice.
So it'll be pretty quick lap times, mm-hmm. and more of a motocross style event. But then it also has we'll have the wood pit that they have to go through, and then we'll have a couple enduro cross obstacles. But we're not gonna have a lot of them. I think a lot of people like the moto type stuff. So we just kind of throw a little bit of mix in there just to kind of break it up, kind of keep them on their toes.
Yeah, a little bit of varying. So some people will excel in other sections, and some will do so a little bit of everything for everybody.
Right.
So it sounds like nice. And then 3 races. So you got to win all 3 if you want to be the king. And so,
but that's the whole goal. But if they don't win all 3 and they come out a moto format, moto scoring system, mm-hmm. they still gonna be the king of Adelanto. But I just, like I said, I wanted to give back a little bit and allow those guys that maybe a motocrosser comes out and he does really well at the Friday afternoon race, he walks away with some money, And if he has a good day the next day, he can walk away with some more money. You know what I mean? It just keeps people there.
Yeah, keeps people motivated and coming out. And so that's an interesting. So you got the guys that are maybe into the motocross, the guys that are into open desert. Then there's the hard enduro guys and stuff like that. So how would you set up a bike for something like this?
Basically, the desert section is going to be like a Grand Prix, more like a SRA type Grand Prix. It will get rough. In the past, when the old Adelanto, you had to gear up. It was a lot of roads, fast roads, 1.5 miles long, just wide open. This is not that at all. Stock gearing works just fine. 45 minutes, you should be able to go on a stock tank. If you get caught where you get that extra lap, well, you might run out. I don't know. I can't guarantee you that. And then the thing is in the beginning, when this first started at Adelanto Stadium, I built the track for the first 4 years, the endurocross section and the motocross sections, and then SoCal did the desert. And so this year, it was when we did that, it was wet. We had it in January. Mm-hmm. So a lot different circumstances now. Now it's going to be drier. I am making the course not as tight as in the past, just because of the heat. We could have hot temperatures, so I'm making it so it's not so many turns and stuff like that, and making it a little bit simpler, and kind of just helping the guys that the once a year racers. That's kind of our goal.
Okay. Yeah. So just basically even the stock motocrosser bikes, the Baja bikes, the bikes that are already set up for Baja and all that stuff. This will work. You use any one of those. Nice. So yeah, this is going to, and it's been around. So Adelanto Grand Prix, when did that get started? That's been around years, right?
I think it's been like 38 years. I want to say I don't know exactly, but I'm thinking it was right around 38 years. And it's been around a long time. And a lot of different clubs have ran it. I know Works at one time when Sean had Works, they had it 1 year. Everyone's just tried to keep this event alive. And like I said, this is kind of why I've, it landed in my lap, being that I've helped out with the first 4 years at the stadium. And then, here I am. And it's like, well, I want to keep it alive, keep it going. So, we want to make it, cool for everyone. And that was the whole idea. And, and I know it's kind of crazy having bikes and quads and side-by-sides all in one weekend, but we didn't know, because it wasn't a points paying event this year. We didn't know what kind of turnout we're looking at. So that's kind of why we put it on one weekend. And if we get a good turnout, then, next year will probably be 2 different weekends, and, we can do a lot more personalized stuff for each category.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Open it up a little bit more, like something. I think quads and UTVs would get along a lot more on their side versus quads and dirt bikes. Right.
Right.
So that
right. So we have quads and quads. We're putting sidecars. I think we got like 5 sidecars signed up, and and they're always, at the Grand Prix that they always race, they're always like the last race. They're after the pro race. And I don't know about you, but riding one of those sidecars is not fun in a chewed up track. So I thought we'd put them in the beginning, when the track is smooth, so they get to enjoy sliding around corners, and they're not hitting just big old G out potholes.
So, things that swallow them whole.
Yeah, and the ATCs, those crazy guys that want to race ATCs, it's it's going to be, I think it's like the first or second race in the morning. So yeah, it'll be smooth so they don't kill themselves out there on it. So
that was always. I grew up riding 3-wheelers. Obviously, nothing like the stuff that's out there or that they're starting to build, which is absolutely crazy. I've seen CRF 450s. With a swing arm on them,
right,
and a quad axle, which is nuts. So
you probably got one of those scars in the back of your calves too, huh?
No, I was always the much more cautious one, but my youngest brother, or the next brother down, yes, very much so. But it was fun. But it was always on the sand tracks, right, in the dunes, right. You had to pick, because everybody was on quads, and there was a couple 3-wheelers, so you had to pick which side the front tire was going. And then you basically drove the thing with your legs, just hung on for the ride. So I've been kind of pumped to see that they're kind of coming back and doing that. I think I've seen one company out there, I think BVC or something like that, that's building conversions for them.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And I didn't realize it was so, so popular already. I mean, I'd seen a couple. I thought it was just some guys just build them from their house, but now they're actually racing them. So I'm like, you know what? I'll throw that class in. I would love to invite them out, have a good time.
That's good. All right.
Old school stuff.
Correct. With a lot more power, though. I don't know. Well, I don't know. What did they have? The 250?
Yeah, 250R.
The 250R, right? It's that's.
Can you imagine riding one of those with a current 450 engine?
It's kind of scary. Yeah, it is a very scary proposition because it's just so much power out of them now.
I mean, when they had 4-strokes, it was only like 200 foot 4-stroke, right? I mean, they didn't really have big 4-strokes. So now with the current 450 motors, oh boy.
Yeah, exactly. And then as high strung as they are, relatively speaking, from compared to what they were before.
Right.
We were looking at that. I've been looking at Baja bikes, right? Building some stuff for a rally. And it's like, well, an XR 400 is cool, but wait, what about maybe like a 350 EXE? They make pretty much the same power,
right? Yeah.
Just better suspension. But, so now, the same thing, same concept. Back then, what was high horsepower versus what high horsepower and is today is different.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, the weight is tremendously lighter. Right? I was going through it. Someone had posted something on Facebook of me racing the ATK in Baja. Mm-hmm. I look back and man, those memories, those bikes were so heavy, and now they feel like 2-strokes, the 450s feel like 2-strokes now, it's like, it's amazing that, the technology,
how far it's, how far, how much lighter, how much faster. I mean, it's just like, and now everything is basically a race engine.
Yep.
I mean,
yeah.
So tell me, I know with the Kawasaki thing, right? You were racing the desert and all that stuff, but really it was when you switched to the enduro stuff, right? That's where a lot of stuff started happening, and that you got Kawasaki their first title. Am I wrong? Yeah. So like a little short story.
When I switched to Kawi, I was just basically a support rider, and in the desert, Danny Hamill was the guy to beat. He was strong like a moose, and he was impossible to beat, and I got to my speeds up, and we started hanging out a lot together. And obviously Rosler, since he was up in the high desert, we rode a lot, and he was basically kind of taking me on rides, and we rode together. But Rosler was always a guy you never left out, because you never knew when he was going to go super fast that day, and a lot of mind games. We had a lot of fun, but Danny was the guy to beat. So I wanted to make money. Like I wanted to make a signing bonus or something. I was just riding off a contingency, and I'm like, I had to find a niche. Mm-hmm. I was good at it. And, I was like, beating Danny was going to be a really tough obstacle. I could finish second, and I was getting closer, and he was getting closer to me in the tighter things, as his forte was desert. My forte was the tight stuff. Mm-hmm. And being that we hung out together, we started getting, I got closer to him in the desert. He got closer to me, so we helped each other. But I just thought, the Enduro series, I liked the Enduro series. It was fun. It was challenging. It was a mind game. There was a lot going on. It wasn't just riding, and so, it was just funny. I went up to Jose Gonzalez, and I said, hey, he was the race team manager, off-road guy at the time, and said, I want to do the Enduro series. And he just said, there's no way. He goes, the Team Suzuki, they got it wired. They're always going to win. They dominate that for I don't know how many years. And I go, well, I would like to try it. And he was like, he did not want to send me to the Enduro series. So I made him a deal. And I said, oh, well, the first 3 races were on the West Coast. I said, if I can, the first 3 races, if I'm in the top 3, will you send me to the next one? And that would be in Georgia. And then pretty much they were all back east. And he kind of him-hawed around, and he said, Kent got back to me. He said, yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. I was like, all right, perfect. And I won the first 3 events. so it was like, here we go. And, it's kind of cool because they told me I couldn't do it. You know what I mean? It was like, you can't do that. There's just no way. You're not going to beat Randy Hawkins and, Steve Hatch and these guys, and I'm like, well, we'll see. I said, they can't totally cheat. They can bend the rules, but if I just flat out beat them, they can't do anything about it. And, so, and plus the first 3 races are in my backyard, Arizona and then Kalinga and stuff. So yeah, I won the first 3. They sent me back east, and it was hell on me. I mean, it was so hard to learn how to ride that stuff, and the bushes, the trees hitting you in the face, and then the hand guards, hitting trees with your hands. I'm just not used to it. And it was tough. It was tough. And, but I was able to do it. I was able to pull off first Kawasaki's first enduro championship. So it was really cool because I think it was at Turkey, Texas, the last round. Mark Johnson was so excited. They had a guy that drove my bike that night, drove all night to get to the Kawasaki dealer show to put it up on display, and it was really cool. It was cool, and so that enabled my foot in the door to get paid a little salary. So it worked. So yeah, and then I should have won it the following year. We had a little discrepancy at one of the races with some switching bikes on the other team, and then AMA kind of looked the other way, and so I ended up in the championship. But yeah, it was good. I enjoyed the enduro series. I enjoyed it's just timekeeping, learning possibles. It was totally different type of racing. It's kind of like it's kind of like rally stuff. It's similar to that. So
you got different areas, different times, checkpoints, things like that. No. Was that how it?
Yep.
Yeah, because in the intro I was kind of talking about that. So it's like learning to ride a bigger bike, and getting around obstacles, getting through obstacles and stuff like that. Sometimes on the bigger bikes, it's not like you're gonna let me just get off and I'm just gonna hoof it over this. No, it's like you have to ride it through some of these things, depending how adventurous you get. And right. I feel like the enduro stuff trains you very well for that, like bike balance and negotiating the bike through things that are not necessarily meant to be ridden through, where right. You would avoid them on a trail. I mean, is that?
Yeah. I mean, all the stuff that I did, and when I went to off-road, I really enjoyed the training because it was basically trail riding. We went out trail riding and trained, and you tried, you kind of try to outdo each other on cliff climbs and gnarly stuff, and I really never thought off-road was that hard, to be honest with you. But then I went to the first GNCC, and I'm laying there throwing up, and for 2 hours after the race, and Rosler's just like, "Hey, you gonna be done? Are we gonna be good to go home? I'm getting hungry," and I'm just laying there throwing up, going, "Oh my gosh," And then I think that first year we went to Alligator Enduro, and they had got tons of rain, and basically you rode underwater the whole day. It was like everything was black. And then you had palmetto roots underneath. You're bouncing off, and I'm like, you guys call this fun? Like, really? This is horrible, Yeah. And it was a big learning experience for sure. You just don't go back there and kick butt I think Guy Cooper kind of found that out too. It's the completely different riding style and everything. So that's probably why you don't see a lot of East Coast guys come out west and kick butt. I think Rodney Smith and I and Roz are pretty much the main guys that would go back east and had the chance to win. Gotcha. But East Coast guys, there wasn't a whole lot. Nobody likes the speed. Nobody likes the speed of the West Coast, Mm-hmm. And I get it, because if you live back east, I don't think you ever get out of third gear. It's always tight trees, So, so it's just different.
Yeah, just a different race. And just watching it, right? Watching the videos and stuff like that, and watching these guys negotiate trees, or watching you guys negotiate trees, it's absolutely insane. Well, how do you even see the line and keep the bike in there? And because literally it's like one tree, that's it. One tree a little bit too far in on the bars, and you have no choice. You're going down.
Yeah. I've had my fair share of hitting them and crashing, and they don't even realize what I hit. Those tree roots that are under the ground. You hit them, and the next thing you know, you're on the ground. Yeah, and there's a technique going through trees. Leaning the bike a certain time. And leaning over to go through trees, and instead of being straight up. There's, the lines was the hardest thing for me. Like, you get in the mud, and there's all these mud ruts, and you're trying to pick out the one that's the least deepest, and you have milliseconds to think. You come up on it, and you can't just sit there and go, okay, look around. You just got to go, Yeah. And that was probably the hardest, part for me. And, but yeah, it teaches you a lot, and in 6 days, going to 6 days is, another completely different realm of racing, And we've gotten really good at it last few years because I think because of the sprint series, the sprint enduro series and stuff like that has really trained guys to do that. I mean, when we did it, Scott Summers and Hawkins and, Rosen, we didn't have tracks to go practice on.
Mm-hmm.
We just showed up at 6 days and here we go. And we relied on our moto skills. But, on a grass track, it's a different riding style. And these guys would look like they're going so slow and they would just kill us in times, and that's a whole nother thing to learn, and Caselli did it right. He went over there and he did some enduros over there. He learned the technique and he mastered it and he did really well, and like I said, I think with Auntie, really pushing the riders to do the sprint enduro series, I think that's really helped us, a lot. And, that's why we're doing so good right now.
Yeah, getting prepared, getting that technique down. And I mean, it doesn't, like in all the riding that I've seen, I mean, and especially like I've seen a lot more of the rally stuff. It's like, it's the little things. It's stuff that you could quickly overlook that gets you there. I think. Right. I mean, that's so to me, and I still don't. It's like I watched the ISD stuff. I've seen some of it, but I've seen like, what is it? I'm literally picturing the side of this mountain, and it's the Red Bull event that they do, and I can't believe I can't remember the name of it right now.
The
Erzberg Rodeo.
Yeah. Yes.
That to me is like, I look at him, well, how do they even design this track? Do they just sit there and look at the side of the mountain going, they'll make it? It's like, we're going to send them up this hill. But okay, I'm going to walk in tomorrow and I'm going to buy a KX or a CR, something, decent to be able to get into this. What do I need to be putting on the bike? What do I need to be training, like working on? What kind of skills? Is there any tips you could give me for that?
Yeah, what you'd probably buy for the bike is, you'd probably buy your radiator guards for sure, because that's about the most expensive thing on the bike. Yeah. Some rally guards to help, keep your levers from snapping off, and basically it's a lot of trials technique. Like, we had an enduro cross track at my house here, and Taddy and Brownie and all these guys would come and practice, and you just watch their techniques, and it basically, it's like you're using motocross and enduro techniques, and you just learn how to get traction. And once you start doing one thing, then it leads to another, and then you learn this, and then so when you're in a race, you go, I remember doing this, and then I remember using this kind of line and weighting the foot peg and really, weighting the foot pegs a lot. It seems like you do that a lot in trials. You're always got pressure on the foot pegs, and you're always got, pressure on the rear wheel at the same time to get that drive, that instant drive, or you got to get up a cliff real quick. Mm-hmm. Those techniques, you learn that from trials. So I think taking a trials class is really benefit someone when they want to do something like that. And a lot of it is just practice. It's riding in the mud when it's raining out. Nobody wants to go ride. It's when you got to go practice. It's it's going to be the worst conditions, so you might as well practice in the worst. That way, everything else seems to be a lot easier. Race day,
Yeah. Racing underwater.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've been through so much stuff. It's crazy. I just felt so many times like, dude, I don't want to do this no more. These off-road guys enjoy this. It's a total different culture back east too. You know what I mean? Like West Coast, it rains or it gets really muddy. We don't want to ride, but East Coast, no, those guys are like, they're trained. Hey, let's go. This is going to be fun. Dude, I'm going to be soaking wet, freezing cold, sliding around, hitting trees, bouncing off of tree roofs. Heck no, I don't want to do this. This is not fun to me. It's a totally different mindset back there.
Well, I mean, probably they're used to it. I've always wondered that on the adventure riders and stuff like that. When I worked at BMW, it was like rain. If there was even a 5% chance of rain, nobody was on a motorcycle. Appointments canceled, everything. Nobody would ride. But then we would get people to come in, and then you start talking to them. It's like, oh yeah, I'm from Oregon, or I'm from the East Coast, and all that stuff. It rains. If we didn't ride when it rained, we would never. So I feel like that's probably the same. It's like, well, yeah, we have, if we want to ride, we're gonna have to ride in the mud and in the rain, and then you add mud and trees. God, that's got to be horrible.
Yeah, no. And your goggles are constantly getting smacked. I mean, like alligator's the worst. Alligator, you're just constantly getting smacked in the face with branches and stuff. And Yeah, it was my goal to win Alligator because it was so damn tough. I was like, dude, I want to win this, and Rosler had won it. So my goal was whatever Rosler won, I had to win. That was my goal, And so Randy Hawkins and I were going at it, and I beat him. I beat him fair and square, and I was so stoked. And I beat him by 2 points, and I was all happy. I'm like, oh, I did it. I go back to my room. I'm telling everybody I won. Then I get this phone call from Jeff Chambers, and he says, hey, where's your scorecard? And I'm like, what do you mean my scorecard? And he goes, yeah, you got to turn in your scorecard. I go, I don't know. I said, it got ripped off is what happened. It was on the front number plate, the front fender, and it got ripped off. And I, didn't even think of it, right? Mm-hmm. And they end up docking me, 2 points, and that gave the win to Hawkins. because I lost my scorecard. I'm like, you're sending me through all this crap about rips everything off the bike, and you expect this plastic scorecard to stay on the front fender that's duct taped to the front fender. I go, what's the deal with backups, Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, why do we have backups if what I mean? It didn't make no sense to me, but it was a rule, and I lost it because of a stupid scorecard, it fell off. So, but. There's tons of tough stuff back east, and I admire those guys. It's like I said, everyone has their little niches, and I enjoyed my career because I got to do everything. I got to ride in the crap. I got to go out west. I got to go do Baja. I got to travel all over and do 6 days, and I had a fun motocross career. I did Supercross. I did did a little bit of everything, and you take a little bit from each sport, and then. You just kind of, when you're doing something, oh yeah, I can do this. Oh yeah, I did this before, and make it all work.
Yeah, it's like the ultimate cross training.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, no, it is. It is. Right now, I really enjoy dual sport, and I like taking long trips. And I have I got a 501 Husky, a big 4-gallon tank on it, and we'll go out to Death Valley and we'll just, hammer down. And you try to get yourself lost. You have enough gas, it goes 200 some miles. So you just go out and adventure around, and, it's really cool. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And it was funny. That was literally going to be my next question. It's like, okay, but where are you riding now? What are you doing? And then if you could jump on the bike tomorrow and ride somewhere, where would you go?
Yeah, I would go to Death Valley. I mean, obviously it's close by, there's great places in Idaho that I would love to go to too. I mean, I love Colorado. We used to do the Colorado 300 at Parts Limited, and it's beautiful up there. There's so much scenery to see, and I love that stuff up there. Mm-hmm. But that's what's close by is Death Valley. Yeah. And I like that there's so many like mine shafts, and there's so much history that's still out there, that's sitting out there that you can see, and it really brings you to reality. Like, man, these guys were hardcore, digging these holes here and there, and seeing the stuff that's still out there, how they crush the rock and how they process the gold. And I mean, that stuff's still sitting out there, and it's really cool to see. So, and there's a lot of miles and miles in Death Valley to go see. And it's kind of like Ricky Brabeck, trains kind of on the outskirts of Death Valley. I'm sure they go through Death Valley a little bit here and there, mm-hmm. Jimmy Lewis's program and all that. They're kind of right around that area. And it just, kind of Nevada, just tons of miles to go see scenic stuff, So it's really, really neat.
And just go ride and get lost. I saw some of the stuff where I've been following the backcountry discovery route stuff. And I know that they did the SoCal route through part of that. And I think they hit one of those, like they hit like Titus Canyon and some of this. Obviously, it's more adventure bike minded than the skinny bike stuff. But
right,
yeah, it just seemed like there's just so much out there, and no lock gates, surprisingly, right?
No lock gates, and like I said, you can go in the Death Valley and ride through there, and then you can go all the way up to Virginia City. And that whole on the West Coast, it's all mining stuff all the way up the West Coast, like almost basically parallels 395. Every town has like mining stuff from, the old days. And it's really cool. You just, they have mines where you ride in, you actually take your car in, and it goes like, and you ride about 2 minutes back, and it's so black. I mean, it's so dark. It is so gnarly because you just think, what if my bike dies? What if I can't find the bike? It's so dark in there. It's really creepy, but it's fun. It's fun to see stuff. And like I said, there's mine shafts, and I always think the back of your mind, you think, oh man, no one's been up here. Maybe there's some gold, or maybe there's something really cool that's worth something to see, So you dig around, check stuff out, but you never find anything. It's pretty much been pilfered through. But yeah. But it's always, you always think, you always like, try to find that, and it kind of keeps you going, there's a lot of cool stuff out there to see. And no one even realizes it. I mean, my friends here, I've been in Death Valley, and they think it's like hot and miserable and, no water. And I'm like, no. And, I've taken people out there, and they've totally been blown away how cool it is and how pretty it is. I mean, you wouldn't think the desert would be that pretty, but it's really, really scenic out there. You got hot springs out there. You got all kinds of cool stuff to see.
And it's funny you're saying that. I'm literally thinking, God, it's got to be so hot. And I mean, it's like I get the desert because I grew up in racing Baja and stuff like that. But it's like Death Valley. No, it's gonna be too hot. But now I'm curious. Now I really am curious. Like, all right, well, what is out there and what are the roads and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you don't want to do it in July. I'll give you
so there's some basics.
Don't do it in July. Yeah, you can do it some of the other months, but July and August get pretty damn warm out there.
Yeah. Okay. Note to self: if you think it's going to be hot, it's going to be hot.
Yeah.
So probably early spring.
Yeah, early spring and the wintertime, October is beautiful out there. I've been in Death Valley and froze my butt off. Storms come in within 45 minutes. You see the clouds and, oh yeah, we're good. Next thing you know, you're just freezing and the starts hailing on you, and and you're just like, everyone thinks Death Valley is so hot, but no, it just depends on what time of year you go in. So.
Good to go after a rain, or does it get pretty muddy?
No, that desert, when it rains, it's just beautiful. It's because it's desert dirt. It's not clay at all. I mean, it's always good. So good.
Hero dirt. Pick your biggest knobby and hold on.
Yeah, if you get rain out there, yeah, you definitely hit the trails. It don't often rain that much. It's like certain times, but I mean, it's cool because you can go all the way up to Mammoth. And then, from Mammoth, you all the way up to, like if I said, Virginia City, Carson City, Nevada. It's, there's trails all the way up there. And it's a lot of fun, We did a ride once with Dalton Shirey and a couple of friends of mine. We went, and I thought Dalton, he was about 16 at the time. I go, he might be kind of bored because we're just riding 2-track roads. Mm-hmm. And he said it was one of the best rides he's ever been on, and I just went on Google Earth and just started looking at roads and kind of just, go to this road, go to that road, and I never even been on it. And then we just checked it all out, and dude, it was so cool.
Nice.
Yeah, we went through Bodie, and we went to the backside of Bodie and stuff that the public doesn't really see. And yeah, it's all these real old tombstones and stuff like that. It was really cool to see. So a lot out there.
It's crazy, and it's literally right there.
Yeah, it's right. Yeah, it's like no more than 10 miles off of 395, and it's just so much to see. I'm intrigued to that, so I enjoy doing that. So, but yeah, I like to go out and learn more of the rally stuff. It would be fun, but I'm getting older. My eyesight's getting worse. And now I've noticed, and I'm like, I don't know, this racing stuff is cut out anymore for me. Mm-hmm. But and your mind never gets old. You just think of your last race. I can do this, I can do that, and then but being in shape, that kills you. If you're the older you get, the harder it is to stay in shape. And usually the older you get, the more work you have to do, and the less playtime you get.
Yeah, true. Yeah, they didn't warn us about that in adulthood.
Yep.
And there's no refund policy, unfortunately. So
yeah. My dad still enjoys riding. He's 78, and he goes out to the Big Six races and races in the Magnum class or something like that. It's nice. Cool. He still rides and stuff like that. Keeps him young at heart.
Yeah, still getting out there. And there's people that don't ride motorcycles will never understand the feeling of riding a motorcycle.
Right.
So right. I could totally see where it's like, no, I'm going to ride this thing until I can literally, and then it'll be a 3-wheeler or ATC.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe it's the vibrations or something. I don't know. It's addicting, and
everything just looks different behind a helmet. I don't I've talked previously with people that's like, about riding. And I'm like, look, even the ride home to your house that you've done for years and years and years in your car, You do that on a bike, and it's a whole nother story.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It just changes. I don't know what, but it changes.
Whole different feeling.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and I just kind of want to ask, so with zip tie racing, you've got, you're doing products, you're doing stuff for all sorts of different bikes, but that's a Husky 501 in the garage. Is there, of all the bikes you decided to pick, how did you come to the 501?
It's an older one. I had a deal with Husky way back when I was bringing up Dalton Shirey. So I had gotten a bike from them, and that's, and I basically made it look like a dual sport bike. It's not really registered for dual sport, but I look like a dual sport bike. So
close enough.
Close enough. I don't get hassle. And I just started going on. I had when it was the Italians had the 630. I had one of those bikes, and I had the Safari 7-gallon tank, and we were at one point I was doing tours from my house to Vegas, and we were kind of opening up the tour company, and we were doing that, and we did a few tours, but then the economy took a dive, and it just was too hard to try to make any money. It was fun, and you had like a bunch of guys signed up. You had like 15 grand. You're like, oh, we're going to make a couple grand each, and by the time you got done, it was like, we broke even.
Yeah. So where did it go?
Yeah, but I enjoyed doing that. I enjoyed taking people. A lot of the Europeans love it out, especially when you go through Death Valley area. They just, oh my gosh, they're intrigued by the masses, the big valleys and stuff. So I did that for a while, and but yeah, I do make product. I'm not as aggressive as I used to be because I'm not racing, and my kid races, but I'm not aggressive making products. But I can't complain. We have the shark fins that protect the rear disc, and we got factory KTM Husky gas using them. We make some carriers for the Supercross team. We make they buy the drain plugs from me. They just buy the wheel spacers they buy from me, and it's fun. It's fun. Kawasaki does the same thing. They buy drain plugs from me and stuff for their race team, and so it's a real small industry. When like my dad has Terry Cable, he makes a lot of stuff for Paul Feed at Race Tech. He makes a lot of spring compressors and the little tools and the just stuff like that. And then my other machinist who I introduced to Paul, he makes a lot of the shock parts and the aluminum stuff that they need made. And so it's a real small industry. But it's fun though. It's fun. So
yeah, goodness, I'm keeping busy, keeping the sport, and you still get to ride.
Yeah, not as much as I used to, just trying to, pay the bills and all that. And, my kid's racing, so that takes any extra income I get. when he was on a Pee-wee, it wasn't so bad, you know what I mean? But now he's riding mini bikes. He's riding 85s and 105s, and, he's getting really good. And, of course, he blows through tires, and then you got, mooses, and, got to put pistons in every 25, 30 hours, it's just like, oh my gosh, yeah, he's getting, it's fun though. I think it's the best thing ever is when your kid, starts like kind of mimicking you and really, he's really driven. And I think it's one of the best things ever for a parent, to experience is when a kid really starts hauling the mail, and it's a lot of fun, and it's really cool. I mean, my dad last week went to the Gene Woods Hot Shoe Hall of Fame. They inducted him into that. And so it was cool that, I got in that Hall of Fame. My dad's got in the Hall of Fame. So I'm like, okay, Dustin, now it's your turn. You got to do something cool.
Here's the goal.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
So, but it's all fun. It's all fun.
Oh yeah. And I imagine you, like you said, just being there, watching them do, discovering the things that you discovered years and years back, and that fire, I'm sure is awesome.
Yeah. And when I've helped, I've helped a lot of riders. I've helped Nathan Woods. I mean, Nick Brozovich. I mean, Bobby Garrison, all these guys, and I've helped them win championships and win races and stuff. And I'm not like I'm a special teacher or anything, but I just put the whole program together. I got the training program we work on, and the suspension setups and all that stuff. And I've been able to, for whatever reason, I've been able to take someone and pretty much give them the chance to win a championship, get them right there in the top 5 in the hunt for they can do it, and I've done it for years for riders, and now it's my own son. So, you just kind of give them the shortcuts, with like Nathan Woods, when we went East Coast, I mean, he was bad, really bad, he's like, I lapped him, he's like, he was so embarrassed. I'm like, Nathan, don't worry, man. I went through the same thing you did. You have to pay your dues, dude. I'm just like, I know exactly where you're at. Hang in there, bud. You'll just stay focused. It's okay. You'll learn it. You'll start picking it off, Yeah. And I just enjoy helping people and watching them succeed. It's fun to be a part of it and kind of give them the shortcuts, because there's a lot of times where people have everything and then they miss something on their bike, or this setup was wrong, or they didn't show up at the right gearing, or, what I mean? There's all these little details that, I was able to help Nathan and Dalton and them. You're kind of like, hey, no, we need to set up this way. Hey, this track is like this. We really want the front end high, back end low, so you can go faster rebound on this, because of the bumps. I may be able to help to tune their bike a little bit, just a little bit, but a little bit here, a little bit there really gains a lot at the end. And, so yeah, Dalton won championships, and I still do a suspension and stuff like that. And yeah, even though he rides for Husky, and yeah, so it's really fun. It's fun to just help some guy out and watch them succeed and watch them start their whole career, so.
And what would you say, like, I mean, in helping these guys come up and do all that stuff, as far as your coaching style, it sounds like you want the rider to learn the technical side of it, or it's like, okay, you focus on the health and all that stuff, and I got the bike.
No, I'm pretty much, all around, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't just focus on one thing. It's the whole package, and it's you got to figure out the personality, because every person has a different personality. There's guys that are naturally talented, and then there's guys that have more drive than the naturally talented. Mostly what I found out that the naturally talented are lazy. They got all this talent, and you go, man, if you could have just done that, trained a little bit. And then you got the guys that don't have the talent, but they're out there putting miles on their bicycle, lifting weights, and it's really hard to find someone that has both, and I don't know if it's even possible, but yeah, it's just, it's, and it's always a learning experience for me, because each person needs something different, so yeah, I just, I don't know, you just take that person and you see their pros and cons, and you just, you work with it, and you try to make their cons pros, you just try to make their bad points good, and then the good points are already good because they enjoy that, so yeah, it's it's always learning. It's never like it's not like I have this program, but okay, yep, this is what you do, this is how you make a champion. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah 10 years Hall of Fame.
yeah. It has to be driven. You have to have that heart deep inside you to want to win. And you have to be able to, put down that phone and do the training, run that extra hill that you didn't want to do, do that extra moto you didn't want to do, stay home and go to a local motocross race that you could have gone to the river, and hung out and, got nothing accomplished. You got to have that inner drive, and you have that inner drive that makes my life way easier, So it's just hard to, when a guy doesn't want to really put forth the effort, it's really hard to, it's hard. And I've had riders like that. I've had riders that just all show, and just in it for just what they can get out of it, but they don't really want to be a champion, So yeah, you learn that as you start working closer with other riders. And then, when they start getting beat down, that's when you really see what they got, and whether or not you make that call, like, I don't know if he's going to really have it. And I might want to pull back and not put so much effort into something that I don't know. I mean? Like, you've got to start showing me glimpses of, success, and like, okay, we'll go to the next step, So, yeah.
There's been, like, across everything, there's just different talks, right? Some people, like, exactly like how you said, some people have the talent, some people have the drive, and which in the end is better. Yeah.
I don't, I think the person that has the drive, because a lot of times you can learn, if you have the drive, you can learn the technique, and I was kind of that way. I mean, I had the drive, and when you're like with Kawasaki, I had no money. I had nothing. I mean, I had Larry Rosler. He'd have to give me a ride to Kawasaki because I had no gas money to go to Kawasaki, and I'm like, hey man, can I get a ride with you? He'd buy me a lunch here and there, I had no money at all. And, you think after winning a Supercross championship, you make all this money. Well, back then, I think I got like $2,000 as my championship, money. And, it's, you just got to keep plugging away and, keep it focused on that goal. And what I've learned a lot too was, and I don't know why, and I'm no expert at it, but when you write down your goals, you usually accomplish them. And, and I remember I was so desperate to win that 125 championship that, Honda used to send out you buy a bike, you would get like this little notebook thing and, how to, when you go test, you go race, you'd write down what tire you ran, what tire pressure and all this stuff. And then it had mental goals too. And what you do for training and all that. And I just went, I was like, you know what? I've been told you got to write out your goals. So I just wrote out my goals. I felt stupid doing it, but I wrote out my goal. Like, I knew my goal, but I wrote it on paper. And for some reason, I accomplished it. Like, I learned from it. It was like, wow, I went out there and won the championship, So, and I was really motivated. I was motivated so much because Suzuki had dropped me, and I told Bob Hanna, I said, Bob, if I don't win the championship, the Supercross championship, if I can't win that, then just fire me. Like, I put all my nuts on the line. I told him straight up to say, dude, I get it. It's a business. And if I can't perform like where I need to be, then I'm just not qualified. I'm just not good enough. I said, so, and we kind of had a bad year. And I said, look, give me one more year. And he was going to give me a year. He's like, all right, Ty, I'll give you that year. And then something happened with the Honda teams that they went belly up. And so Suzuki ended up hiring all their riders. And I hadn't had a signed deal, so I was kicked to the curb. And here I was thinking I had a deal and I didn't have anything. So then I just ended up went out and bought 2 Hondas at a dealership. And I was, I had done a lot of endurance testing with Honda. So they kind of helped me out with some parts here and there. And and I was more motivated to beat their butts. I was like, okay. I was like, I couldn't do anything more. I don't know what else I would say. When someone says, look, if I don't win, fire me. Yeah. I mean, I'm putting everything out there. Like, I'm going to win. If I don't win, fire me. That's it. I don't want your money bonuses. Like, if I can't do it, I don't belong to have this, support ride. Just get rid of me. And so, and I hammered through, and like I said, I wasn't the fastest rider. I wasn't, McGrath was coming up at the time. And him and I had good battles, and that guy has some good talent. He was definitely a good Supercross rider, and I knew I could feel it. Like, dude, and I struggled at Supercross, but I just kept practicing and practicing and practicing, and so no, it's I like I said, I just had the goal, I had that drive, and I did everything. I did everything in my life to achieve that goal. It was like, oh no, go here. No, that's not going to help me win this race. I need to go do whatever helps me win the race, whether it's a bicycle ride, I go running, I go sprints, I go work out, I go, what I mean? It's whatever it was has driven me to win. So
everything was focused around that end result. That everything was focused around that sentence on that piece of paper.
Yep, exactly. So, and I don't know. I mean, and I kind of carried that through the off-road thing, and when I went to Yamaha, it was, same thing. It was, I gave Yamaha their first National Hare and Hound Championship, their first National Enduro Championship. We went best in the desert. We've done, we don't even with Yamaha. We didn't do Baja because we didn't have no program. That was too expensive. Yeah. But yeah, it was cool. It was, and I never thought I could, like that first race when I signed with Yamaha, the first National Hare and Hound, Kawasaki was bitter at me. They hated me. They hired Destry, they hired Brian Brown, and they had Esposito. They had a whole gang to beat me. I'm just one guy on a Yamaha. It was that new 400 4-stroke, and I'm just like, I'm nervous, and the thing didn't start with a damn. And I remember the first Hare and Hound, I couldn't get the bike started. Those guys were gone on the start. And I finally got it started, and I just focused, head down, and I started passing guys. And I kind of in the back of my mind thought, there's no way I can pull this off. Gosh dang, I was so mad at myself. Why couldn't this thing have started, And by the first loop, I was in the 8th place, and I just kept hammering. And it kind of got me motivated. Like that adrenaline was just rushing. Like, I might have this. I might have this. I didn't know how far the first was, but I could see the dust trails, and I just kept hammering, caught up to Russ Pearson, got him. And I ended up catching Nick Pearson right at the very, very end. And he was leading, and I got right behind him. And I'm revving the bike up, and he's nervous as hell because we're almost at the finish line. And I remember we came over this rise, and he missed a corner, and I saw his head start looking around for the ribbon. And I looked to the left, I caught it, and I passed him. And we went in this chute, and there was the finish. I mean, it was right to the very, very end. It was the best feeling ever, to be able to pull something like that off. Those are the races you remember forever, So,
yeah,
it was cool. Fun stuff.
That's crazy. Yeah. You come from behind, you focused, you drove, you just did what you needed to do. And then it all works out in the end. Yep.
Yeah. Doing your homework is, everyone says, oh, you can't produce your luck. Well, I kind of believe you do kind of produce some of your luck. It's how much homework you get done, off the bike and at home usually creates your luck at the races and stuff. So, I'm a believer in that. So,
yeah. And it's like I'm thinking all these races, all the emotions and everything that you put together, you put into it, and then just to have everything come together like that. And
yeah.
So is there? I mean, we celebrate the successes. Is there a race? What would you say the race was that you learned the most? I wouldn't say that it was the worst race, but it's obviously when something goes south, it's an opportunity to learn. What race did you learn the most at, or what event, or what, at what point?
Well, the alligator really made me dig deep, and my first 6 days in Holland really taught me to dig deep. I was, my dad didn't go to the races with me over my whole career, really. And so apparently they're by myself. So you don't have that family backup support, Mm-hmm. And then I went to Holland, and first time over, outside the country, it was just, nervous and everything. And I remember I was so scared. I was on a KX500. I remember I basically raced to the first pit, and I did not want to be late. I'm like, I can't lose any points on the transfer points, and I get to the check, and they're all like, oh, and they say, oh, you have 10 minutes, before your number comes up and you go again, right? And they're like, oh man, you're doing good. You got like 2 minutes. And I'm thinking, I rode my ass off, and all I got is 2 minutes. Are you kidding me? And but I didn't realize everybody else was late. So Rodney and all those guys, they kind of rode like a normal 6 day. They had a trail pace. Well, and luckily I did that. But it really taught me to, just because it was muddy, it was raining. I never rode ruts up to the handlebars ever in my life. I'd watch the guy in front of me go through it, and I'm like, that was impossible. He just did it. Like, how did you not get stuck? Yeah. And of course, the fear of having to lift that KX500 full of mud out of that rut. So I would just get back and gas it and hang on, and I learned a lot there. I was like, wow. And when you ride stuff like that, it really makes you a really good rider. It really teaches you start learning techniques, and you can tell someone else, do this or weight the outside peg or carry your momentum here. Well, when you're exhausted and tired and you have no more juice in you, mm-hmm. And then you do that, you like your body all of a sudden becomes a natural thing. All of a sudden, you don't have to take yourself or anything. You just do it, and you're like, yep, that's what you got to do, because I'm so tired. If I fall off this bike one more time, I'm done, So it really teaches you a lot of stuff. So yeah, I said those two probably were the ones I learned the most on. I said, and more alligator was just more like it was just a miserable day. It was just horrible, and I don't know. I just never rode anything that where you're just constantly in the water and, everyone's just like smiling, having a good time. I was like, this sucks. Get me back on the West Coast, So
every single reason to not get on the bike and kick it over.
Yeah. Yep.
Every last one of them.
Yeah. But no, Cal, I had a great program, it like I said, they gave me a program, but it didn't make me a champion. I had to, they gave me the tools, and I had to put it together, and so you just Yeah, but they were able to, then they're notorious for bringing up champions. I mean, look at everyone that's come through the Team Green program.
Yeah.
They do have a good program. So
Yeah, yeah, and I agree. I mean, there's this like I still see it as a prestige to it. It exactly what you said is like Team Green. Like pretty much every rider on that team was legend.
Yep.
And that's crazy. I mean, they built, like, I was just not last episode, but the episode before, we were talking to Jacob Argybright, and he races the KX out at the Hare and Hounds, and then he's setting up a KLX for the Sonora Rally, and it's like he just knows the bike, the bike performs for him, and it just works. And I see that, I go, yeah, it's a Kawasaki.
Yeah.
So, but
yeah, it's funny to like, I've done some testing with like Kiefer when they get all the new bikes and everything, and here it is, 20 years later, and he's like, hey Ty, you want to come out and ride these bikes? And I'm like, yeah, cool. I've never get the chance to do that, so I go out and ride all the different bikes, and I kid you not, it's like a Kawai's a Kawi, a Suzuki's a Suzuki, a Yamaha's a Yamaha. It's like 20 years later, they still feel like this. They still have the same tendencies. It's really weird. The Kawi never feels like a Honda ever. And it's like the Suzuki never feels like anything else. It's like they all have their traits, and it's weird. They all have them, and they never really go too far from it. Even though they copy this person's this, or they KTM this or that, they're always trying to get other bikes and make them like theirs. Yeah. It's just so funny is when you ride a Kawi, and Kawis are I like Kawis. Kawis are one of my favorite bikes. They're solid, they're stable. Yeah, they might not turn the best, but I mean, that's just being picky. You know what I mean? And the Suzuki's turn really good. The KTM's turn good, and the Huskies turn good. I know. I mean, they're so good now. I think you could take any bike and do well on it. But I think like the Yamaha and the Kawi seem to be maybe more stable in the fast stuff. What I feel. But man, all the powers over. I mean, you can't. How these guys that go out and put pipes on their bikes, you can't even ride it the way it is stock. There's, it's so much power. I just, all they got to throw this $700 pipe on it. Why? Save the money and buy, go to practice it, do more practicing on that money versus,
Yeah. All I heard was 5 tires. That's what I heard. You're going to put that exhaust when you could have bought tires.
Yeah. Tires and exactly. And, but yeah, no, they're all good now. I mean, I don't know what to say. They all those bikes are good. So
what amazes me is I think it's like what you're saying. It's like each one is different. Like I always thought it's like, okay, well, Honda seems to be the bike that you sit on, and it's like, it's almost like they invited you over, set it up for you, and it just feels right. Handlebars are the right height, seat height, handlebars to the seat, everything just feels right. But then you go to like a Yamaha, and it feels like, okay, I'm sitting on top of this bike, not in it.
Right.
I haven't sat on a Suzuki and I haven't sat on a Kawi, but it just was interesting to me to see how the difference is between the bikes.
Right.
But I mean, that's what works for them. I know it's bike setup, and I mean, I know that the rider counts in as part of that setup. How much weight is over the front tire, in certain riding positions.
Well, yeah, all the riders are, they ride differently, different height, weights, everything's different for a rider. I mean, different shoulder widths, I mean, I know we cut our bars for the kids, we cut bars for them to, to tune their bike in for them. I mean, it's kind of stupid when you buy these kids bikes and the bars are ridiculously wide and the kids' shoulders are no more than a foot and a half wide, and they're grabbing a 30-inch bar. Really? They don't know strength there,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if even in a gym, but, you do a bench, you don't put your arms spread eagle on there and, start doing the bench. You put your arms right in front of you, right? It's the strongest point. Why would you run bars that are, 30 some inches long, wide, Yeah. And little things like that, but yeah, personal setups, if it's taller rider, a little bit taller bars, that type of thing, foot pegs, there's always a little, stuff, but yeah, each bike has their little signature, I guess you would call it, but they're all good. I mean I think far as durability, I think the Yamahas were one of the best as far as durability. I mean, you never had to check valves. I mean, Honda went through a bad time where they had valve issues and they were always tightening up, and obviously they fixed that now, but back in the day as a Yamaha, you never check the valve. You ran them all year and they'd be fine, So yeah, each company has a little, their little quirks, but
yeah, but they work. That was I was talking to Gnarly Dave the other day, and he was telling me we were talking about bikes because I've been looking at getting a skinny bike and to do some rally stuff on it. He goes, dude, Yamaha. So I haven't touched the valves on my WR. I won't say in how long, so he doesn't get flamed for it. But
but you don't have to. That's the thing. You don't have to.
That's what he said. He's, I haven't touched them, and they're perfect. I'm like, yeah. I mean, you can't argue with that, So, Yamaha's quickly becoming the front runner, and yeah, I mean, I think the bike setup and the packages that they offer for the bike, like especially in the WR. I think it's a good bike. So and maybe we'll end up with one of those in the garage.
When I was growing up, Honda was the shit. Honda was the bike to have. It was the most durable. You could work on it with a T-handle. Everything was like, thought out, when you took this, subframe off, did the shock. Everything was just thought out,
Mm-hmm.
And then it seemed like Yamaha kind of took that role. The Yamaha came really, really strong. Mm-hmm. And Cowie's, I think Cowie came afterwards, but yeah, it's hard to beat a Yamaha. They're good bikes.
Yeah, it's just for the package right out of the box and what they are and what they're capable of. I mean, it's a good bike. But like you said, the race is closer. Whoever sets the bar, you only just put a target on your back because the next manufacturer is going to be right after. Ooh, they did that? Okay, cool. We could do that too. So. Yeah,
I think like Husky and KTM, as far as technology, like when you look at their motors, mm-hmm. they are ahead of everybody. They really are. I mean, they do some really cool stuff. I mean, just like their XCs and their FEs and putting that small thing inside the frame, mm-hmm. so it's not sticking outside the frame and just the little things like that. It's like, man, they really thought this out. It's really cool. Like so far as technology is concerned, but them making things better, lighter. And KTM, Husky, I mean, they've done a really good job, I believe. I think they're better than the Japanese right now. I mean, they make those things so light and they think about everything, So the only thing I hate about these fuel injection bikes is this wiring harness. That sucks. They need to figure something out. There's too many wires. It's too much crap that goes wrong. The fuel pump's going out constantly. It's, I don't know. I just don't like, that's like the thing. I think that's the next thing that needs to be fixed is the wiring harness. It needs to be simplified and somehow, I don't know how they can do it, but it's just, all those wire connections, you're on a dirt bike on dirt. I mean, you got all these computer wires everywhere and there's so many issues that can happen. And when one little issue happens and the bike doesn't run or it does this, or, and you try to figure that out, it's
mm-hmm.
impossible at times. So,
yeah. And it's one more thing that every time you're checking the bike and looking at the bike, you're checking for chafed wires. You're checking for, anything that could be putting stress on the wiring loom or anything like that. And, and then something as simple as like, filters and the fuel injectors.
Yep.
The one time that little piece of trash gets through and it will literally stop an injector dead in its tracks.
Yep.
And on a carburetor bike, you take the airbox off, pin it, cover it, and it'll suck whatever it is and blow it right back out the exhaust. We did that on the Volkswagens when we were racing Volkswagens. A piece of dirt in the carb, not a problem. We'll find it right now. Watch.
Yep. Yeah. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, I had a Husky in here, a used bike, had a lot of hours on it, and I was selling it, and I started up, and things all brand new, and then it was like, oh, it's all ready to go, ready to sell. The guy wanted to come buy it, and I go to start up after I warmed it up, and it went fire, and I'm like, what the heck, And I replaced fuel pump, injector, everything. I wiring harness, everything, stator, all that. I'm like, what the heck? I've changed everything. And I ended up taking it down to Husky. I talked to Andy Jefferson. I'm like, dude, can you hook something up? Because I cannot figure this out. And I took it down there and I plugged it in and fires right up. No, I can't. It can't just be, like my luck, right? And I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, it didn't fire, And when they unplugged it, the bike wouldn't fire. I'm like, oh, thank God. And yeah, see, this is the problem, So they started doing the same thing, and they just so happened it was a flywheel, and the magnets on the flywheel, when it got warm, the flywheel wasn't spinning the magnets, to produce the electricity.
Mm-hmm.
And and it was the weirdest thing. And one of the KTM mechanics goes, yeah, we had this one instance. We had this problem with the flywheel, and that's what it was. And no one could figure it out, and that's the one thing I didn't change. The one thing, and
so I have this other bike now.
yeah. The wiring harness, what a nightmare to pull those things off and swap them, and figuring out what plug goes into what plug, and oh my God, yeah. Crazy things. I like the carburetor. It's simplified. I like it. I enjoy the crispness of a fuel injection and the mileage of fuel injection, but the reliability of a carburetor is wonderful.
Yeah, and they're hard to find now. Everything's going the way of fuel injection. So
I do a lot of carburetor cleaning and stuff. A lot of people send me carburetors. I put ultrasound and I pull them all apart and everything. I pick a carburetor. If I was going to go in Mexico and ride for weeks, I'd like to have a carburetor. I don't want to have to carry all these filters and pumps and all this other stuff, in case it goes out. Carburetor you pretty much fix anywhere.
Exactly.
I know it. When I did the 1,000 on Chris Haynes' team, I don't know, about 6 years, 7 years ago, I rode the X, and I never ridden a Honda, and it was cool. I mean, great bike for down there. It was wonderful. So
nice.
It was carbureted,
and it was still the carburetor. Yeah, that's even. I was talking to Colton Udall some time ago about building a bike, and he told me, get the platform, and then I'll help you with the rest of it. Doing bike builds, and that was what he told me. He's all, dude, you want a carbureted? These things are workhorses. They will not quit. And and for all the same reasons, he goes like, it's a carburetor bike. You can't go wrong with that. It just, you need parts for it, whatever it is, much easier to find. You're not going to get, left out on the side of the trail because there's a nick in the wire and now the ohms aren't correct. And so the injector doesn't know what to do and so.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, I'm not a big fan of, putting the 2-strokes, fuel injection. I know that's like everybody wants that as the technology. And I guess that's the process we have to go through. Mm-hmm. And I'm just hoping that they figure out all these little, blemishes that we, a lot of riders have, for whatever reasons and all that. I know when they test them, it's fine. But, when people start, how it is, everyone, rides different areas. This gets overlooked and causes this problem. And, so.
There is no replacement for miles on a bike.
Right.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I'm looking forward to it. So, Adelanto Grand Prix, couple of weeks away now. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It's a couple of weeks away, end of May, Memorial Day weekend. And, nice. We're, I'm just trying to get tractors lined up right now. And, I kind of got the course laid out in the desert section, and, I know I'm gonna have to put a lot of water down because it's dry up here right now. So, but I want a dust-free race. So, So I invite everybody to come out and have a good time. And like I said, there's racing for everybody.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. So going over the classes again. So all the way from the little peewee bikes all the way up, pro bike, dirt bikes, ATCs. For those adventurous people, then we got UTVs and quads as well. So everybody's got a home. That's gonna be crazy.
Yep.
It
is. And I'm really scared because I've never put on a race. Well, I put on one race in my life, but it was like a local Grand Prix, a Christmas Grand Prix thing, and but I've never put on a race at this size. Being kind of in charge of everything and making sure this gets done, that gets done. Armbands, what color armbands are we doing? What are we going to do this? What are we going to do that? Who's doing this? Oh my gosh. I'm like, oh my God. It's like so many things you forget, and just like, oh boy. And I got a good crew, but still it's your first time, and we're not using a normal scoring system. We're using some they use in triathlons and stuff, but it's proven, and it's great because when I go to Grand Prix, I hate standing in line. And this new system, basically, they have like 15 iPads out there, and you sign yourself up. It's all computerized, click away, and like when you go to the airport, it's kind of like that. So everyone sign themselves up, and I don't want no lines. It's my pet peeve. I hate lines, so this hopefully eliminate the lines, and they don't have to buy a transponder. They just leave their their driver's license or credit card, and they get a transponder, and then we email them to remind them to bring the transponder back. So so it's some cool things. We email them the results, or text them the results. I mean, so there's some things that that are different and new, and all I'm trying to do is like improve things. I mean? I just want to improve it, make it a little bit better. The things that I see that are issues that some of the organizations haven't fixed, I want to try to fix it. Now's my chance to try to make it better. Yeah. And who knows? It might be a big flop. I could come out of this looking like a complete idiot, but you never know until you try, right?
Exactly.
So I'm in with both feet right now and going wide open. So yeah.
Well, then again, you did tell Kawasaki, "I'll win the first three, or let's give this a shot."
Yeah.
And we'll see where it lands. So. Yeah, I mean, I think that, the Adelanto Grand Prix, like I said, I mean, I didn't know it was already in its 30 years or so, but, sounds like you got a pretty good game plan. You got the classes, got the payouts, got all of that stuff handled, and I think it's going to be really cool. I really do. I haven't been up there, but sounds like I know what I'm doing at the end of the month.
Yeah, it would be great to have you there. I would love to have you there, and yeah, I think it'll be fun. I mean, when they go inside the stadium, everyone loves it, and we built a cool little arena cross track for that. And it's fun for everybody. Good laughs. The wood pit always knocks people down. The water jump, the two big things are going to be the wood pit and then the water jump. And the water jump, I don't need a death-defying water jump. That's not what I'm into. It's not like pound your chest type of jump where, I want it safety, but I also want people to, squirrel out too. So my idea is to have a long water jump, and, pretty much you're coming from like a story down and you're jumping up, and it's just flat land, right? So you're not landing on an uphill, you're landing on a flat land. And I basically want about a foot of water and run it out. And then most people land in the water and they'll pull the water further out. And then it gets slimy and muddy, and that's when you get the guys that slide out. That's what
and then chaos ensues.
Exactly, and the fans love it, and mud's flinging everywhere, and people are sliding out. And I want nice crashes. I don't want someone cartwheeling and you just go, "Oh my gosh!" I'm not into that. I want a safe event, and I want everyone to have a good time, and a couple little tip overs and spills and stuff to talk about.
Par for the course.
Yep.
Nice. That's going to be awesome. That is totally going to be awesome. So, well, cool. Well, yeah. So I'll let you go. What are we at? Ooh, 8:30 already. It's getting to dinner time. So what I'll do is I will get I'll get the links up for AdelantoGP.com. Put the zip tie link up as well, and we'll start getting this thing out there. Get some people out to the Adelanto.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
awesome.
I'm looking forward to it. It'd be cool.
Okay.
So excellent, sir. I really appreciate you taking the time.
No worries.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me on there, and it's great to talk about all old stuff, and just all kinds of stuff. I've been through a lot, so it's cool to talk about it all.
Yeah, you can say that. You've raced a couple times. Maybe one, maybe won a thing or two, but whatever. Who's keeping track?
Yeah. So,
dude, that's awesome. Cool. All right, Ty. Well, we'll see you in a couple of weeks in Adelanto.
All right. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. See you. Bye. All right. So that was none other than Ty Davis. I'm still kind of like, dude, that was literally Ty Davis. So Kawasaki and everything else winner. I mean, it's just awesome to hear the story. And I had no idea that that's how the Endurocross thing had gone down with Cowie and them getting involved. Is basically him just putting it on the line and be like, all right, let's see how we do after 3 races and then we can talk. And being able to convince them to do that and go, and then, where they ended up. So that's pretty crazy. So, well, we're going to wrap up this episode. And it sounds like we're going to be going to the Adelanto Grand Prix here in a couple of weeks. But this week, on Sunday, I'm actually going to post this episode. You guys are probably going to hear it tomorrow, Thursday. On Sunday morning, we are traveling super early and on our way to the Sonora Rally. So we'll be down there. I will be trying to post some updates and get maybe some episodes in there. So you guys may be hearing some shorter episodes from the Sonora Rally while we're there. Going to try and see if we can get some time in and talk to some of the racers. There's a couple of no-namers going now. We've got Brebeck, Cornejo, Howes. I mean, and the list goes on. I'm trying to think. I haven't seen the official entry list, but I am looking forward to talking to some of these guys. I'm going to get to see them at the finish line, helping Mike Johnson with Rally Comp and doing the timing and scoring. So absolutely pumped to do that. It is going to be a long week, but it is going to be a fun week because it is going to be in the desert of Sonora. So I'm looking forward to that. Going to get to see some places that I haven't seen down there. I've heard the stories and everything, but never actually set foot. So absolutely stoked to be part of that. Room is a complete mess right now because we have got everything laid out. And if you didn't hear the last episode, we're talking about packing, and that was literally because what I was doing and still am doing. So if you want to take a gander, listen to that one. And then before that, we talked to Jacob Argybright about his entry into the Sonora Rally and how he's preparing for that. So, and then also, if you like and subscribe, you could go all the way back and listen to some of the other episodes like Lawrence Hacking on here, Skylar Howes as well, Alex Martins from Conflict Motorsports, Scott Bright. We've had a lot of really, really cool guests. Chris from Moto Minded. Let's see who we got. The guys from over from Vintage 1000. There's a lot of stuff. So get that subscribe button, start downloading some of the episodes, check it out. You can always visit chasingwaypoints.com. You will find the Apple podcast and Spotify podcasts link there that do update with the latest episodes. So if you want to bookmark that one, and then just keep an eye on the Facebook page for when those new episodes are released. So yeah. So there we go. That is a wrap for this week's episode. We are going to be coming live now from the Sonora Rally here in the next week. I shouldn't say live. There'll be some pre-recorded stuff, but we're going to be having some fun. Keep an eye on the Facebook, Instagram side of things, Chasing Waypoints _official, and also on Facebook, that is going to be Chasing Waypoints. So we will see you guys in a week. See ya.